Stretch.
What?
All right, 7:00 p.m. Central Time in Gardner, Kansas. I will call the Gardner City Council to order. May you please rise and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, I have a proclamation here. The proclamation is to declare the week of the 17th of September Constitution Week in the city of Gardner, Kansas. Now, the United States Constitution was signed, as all of you who are involved in civics know, was signed on this date in 1787, September 17th. And so I'm going to read this proclamation. I'm going to give it to, I believe we have a representative from the Daughters of the American Revolution here to participate, Tori. It's so wonderful to see you back in chambers again. Yeah. So, whereas September 17, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designated September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore be resolved that I, Steve Shute, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2018, be designated Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that our lost rights may never be regained. So come on out, Tori.
I'm accepting this on behalf of my Gardner, Kansas DAR chapter for the Trail of Survive. So great, thank you.
Yes, you gotta take pictures. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, looks like we're going to have a pretty light schedule this evening. We're going to move on to public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. Just a reminder for folks, if they wish to come forward and speak, we do have a clock over here, a 5-minute clock, and we also have a bell that's over here. It's an audible signal that basically tells you, as the person speaking, that that your time is up. If you could please state your name and address coming in, and stay away from profanity or personal attacks. That is all that we ask of you. So with that being said, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and be heard. With no one coming forward, I'm going to make a request, and I'm going to ask for some consent from the governing body here. We have an executive session that's set up for discussing matters related to non-elected personnel. That's item number 1 on the executive session list. I would like to be able to move that to just before the first new business item. Is there an issue with that? No. Okay. Issue. All right, then we will move that. We'll change the order to make sure that we have that done. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the council wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Oh boy, who said that? Was that you, Lee? Motion Moore, second Melton, that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda passes. Committee recommendation item number 1. Consider approving an ordinance rezoning property from A, agriculture, and C3, heavy commercial districts to M1, restricted industrial district. Larry Powell, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. What we have is a change in zoning for staff recommends to the Planning Commission for the recommended approval of rezoning of 23.4 acres from A and C3 districts to M1 district, and for the application of the governing body for approval. And what we have before you is the blue areas that are outlined are properties currently owned by Olathe Ford RV. They have been inside the city limits for quite some time. The building area has been platted, final platted and built on. The secondary area that between the two lots has been used for outside storage. It was originally outside storage with the county prior to inclusion into the city. So when it was brought in, that zoning was continued as a use, even though it was an ag zoning at the time. And they're now getting ready to continue to expand that use into the secondary piece of property. And as such, then we now need to rezone it to allow to an M1, which is the current and proper zoning for that. So this area came into the city, consistent with the city in 2002, and considered a non-conforming use, and the remainder of the property and the property to the south is currently vacant. Although Tuscan Farms is the adjacent property immediately to the south and is zoned right now as residential. And then we have the school district service center and the night school, which are ag. So there's no financial impact at this point in time for this use change in zoning. And the suggested motion is to approve ordinance 2586, rezoning 23.4 acres from A, agricultural, and C3, heavy commercial, to M1, restricted industrial district, 23.4 acres of property south and west of the current Olathe Ford RV, located at 19310 South Gardner Road.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. I'll ask you to stand aside for a couple of seconds. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on committee recommendation item number 1? Hearing none. Questions for Larry or staff?
Larry, I have a question for you. With Tuscan Farms coming into town and their great investment in our community, we have some sort of buffer along the south line there between homes and storage of mobile home, not mobile homes, I'm sorry, RVs?
Yes, sir. There is a required buffer zone, which will be on the M1 side.
Okay.
So there's a setback requirement, both a setback and a screening requirement, which will be put in place as we move through the change in zoning. The next step, of course, would be for them to come in and do a replat of the area. And during the platting process, that's when we will talk about zoning requirement, or excuse me, the screening requirements and the setback requirements for that change in use with Olathe Ford. One thing I also should bring to your attention, and I'm sorry I meant to bring that up earlier, is that the property, they had a fire, as you may recall, here sometime back, and as a result of that fire, the Johnson County Fire District did an analysis of the needed improvements to fire lines in the area for this building. And they had negotiated with Olathe Ford to extend a fire line either along the south side of the existing commercial property, or to work with the school district to have an extension of the line that currently wraps around their property, because there's a hydrant clear back in the northwest corner of the property, which would actually be a shorter pipe run for them. They had agreed to that, and so they were supposed to bring back something to the fire district. However, it hasn't occurred yet, so we've been in communication with them to remind them that that's a fire district requirement and they must comply. And so moving forward, we'll probably make sure that as we go through the next step, that is part and parcel of what this change in zoning will allow them to do. Also, that could be some reason they haven't done it is because they knew they were going to take this action, and we're waiting for the planning session that will have to come forth.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Larry.
Okay. Any other questions from council? With no other questions being asked, I will entertain a motion on committee recommendation item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion of Gorsuch, second Melton, that we adopt, and this is an ordinance 2586, is that correct? Okay, ordinance 2586, an ordinance changing the zoning classification or districts of certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 in the municipal code of the city of Gardner. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Dorsey?
Yes.
Councilman Belton?
Yes.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilman Winter?
Yes.
Councilman Baldwin?
Yes.
So ordinance 2586 passes. Sorry about that. There is no old business. We are moving to the portion where we had asked to have the executive session moved. So I would entertain a motion on recessing briefly into executive session.
So moved. Second.
Motion Melton, second Moore, that we recess an executive session to discuss personnel matter with legal counsel pursuant to KSA-75-4319, subsection B1, personnel matters related to non-elected personnel, beginning at 7:10 p.m. and I think we'll leave 30 minutes, and resuming regular session at 7:40 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? We stand in recess. All right, turn a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Milton, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? We are back in regular session. New business item number 1, consider approving the separation agreement of full general release between the City of Gardner and Cheryl Harrison Lee. I do not have a presentation this evening. We do need to formally vote on this issue. So Cheryl Harrison Lee has resigned effective September 10th. You have seen the separation agreement and full general release. So I will entertain a motion on
Public
approval.
comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any public comments on new business item number 1? All right, hearing none. Are there any questions, comments? I don't believe that there would be. All right, I will entertain a motion on new business item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Moore, second Melton, that we approve the separation agreement full general release between the City of Gardner and Cheryl Harrison Lee. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? New business item number 1 passes. New business item number 2. Consider appointing Laura Gorley as interim city administrator. And Laura Gorley's been our finance director for at least the last decade. And before then, she's spent time with the city, over 30 years worth of time within our community, serving our community. She is as well qualified as anyone that I can think of to take that position. It says here, the city administrator is an appointed city officer with essential signatory and other responsibilities mandated by city code, which is why we have to have a vote to appoint a city administrator as the interim basis, because that would provide the city of Gardner with an individual to fulfill these necessary statutory functions. So with that being said, I will open the floor for public comments on new business item number 2. Hearing none, any questions from the body? None? Okay. I will entertain a motion on new business item number 2.
So moved. Second.
Motion winner, second Moore, that we approve the appointment of Laura Gorley as interim city administrator effective September 17th, that's today, 2018. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? New business item number 2 passes. We're off to council updates. Staff have anything for council? I will start with Gons Garcia, utilities.
Nothing tonight, sir.
All right, great, thanks. Parks and Rec doesn't have a representative here today. Oh, wait, we do. We have anything, Adrian?
No.
No? Okay. Larry Powell.
Not tonight, sure thing.
Okay. Tim McEldowney, sitting in the chair for Michael Kramer.
No, I don't have anything tonight, thanks.
Okay, great. Chief Pruding.
No, sir.
City Clerk.
No, sir.
Our finance director, now interim administrator, somewhere in the woods of Minnesota, so she's not dialing in. I don't think she can even get a signal. City Attorney. Okay, great. Governing body, do they have anything for staff? I will start on my immediate right, City Council President Leemore.
I just have one thing for Tim. That's basically wondering about curbs and gutters. Driving around in my neighborhood and walking around in other neighborhoods, I'm noticing even more deterioration, and it seems like it's accelerating from before. And I'm kind of wondering if we've done, I know we did a street walk over the years. We had an engineer go out and look at every inch of streets, and I know that in the intervening years, we've discovered that the curbs are in worse shape, and we're trying to do curbs and streets at the same time. But I'm wondering if we have any effort or anything on the horizon to go out and do an assessment of the curbs and gutters and to know where we are going forward, because I know that's one of the it's something that's eating away at the infrastructure sales tax budget every year. But I'd like to see if we can scope it and see, just how bad is it really, and if we need to take action on it some other way.
Yeah, to my knowledge, we haven't gone and done a citywide update of all the curbs. Like you said, typically we've decided, okay, here's the areas where we're going to be doing the pavement management, and then analyze the curb in those areas. And then it's a matter of trying to balance, okay, how much curb are we going to replace versus how much street repair are we going to do? Because as you know, the curb is very expensive. So, yeah, we recognize it continues to be a problem, and yeah, it would just be a matter of if we felt that was a higher priority to replace curb, or if we need to come up with additional money from a different source to do that.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for, is to find out, because every year this thing, the curbs are eating into that budget that we have for roads, and that's dictating things like where we stop a mill and overlay project and start a chip seal, and that has a detrimental effect on the residents on those streets that are getting the combination, because they're looking at it like, hey, my neighbor over here pays the same tax I do, but I'm getting the chip seal, and they're getting the brand new fresh pavement, which, after it's all said and done, after about a year, I don't know what the difference is, honestly. I mean, you can't tell the difference when you go out and touch it with your hand, which I wouldn't recommend anyway for driving on. But people are, they're really upset about it. And I had one resident in particular sent us all a really angry email about it. And Council Vice President and myself went out to visit him and talked to him about it, and got an earful, and had to explain, how the budgets work, and how we only got so much money every year, and some of it's been eaten up by the curbs. So I'm just wondering if we shouldn't be a little more proactive in understanding what the curb impact is going forward, so we can know ahead of time, and maybe do a little bit better either funding it or budgeting it out. So
I'd be interested in knowing what the overall replacement cost on an annual basis would potentially be for a curb and gutter, on annualized, so that we can actually include that within our road maintenance budget when we get to that stage. Because I don't see the special sales tax in place permanently.
right.
I mean, we need to be able to budget for that within our general fund.
And yeah, I want to point out once again, for those at home and out in the audience there, our curbs and gutters is not a problem that was caused by the way they were installed or anything like that, and it's not a problem that we had any expectation of, or anybody could have expected. It occurred as a result of, and this is per previous engineering studies and under Brian Faust, our previous Public Works Director. We were the victims of a really bad batch of concrete that was basically spread all around the Kansas City metro area, not just in Gardner. We're just a little bit slower because we don't have as much money at getting all those things replaced and getting that concrete out of there. So what we're seeing around town is just a result of that, and unfortunately it's very expensive.
Anything?
That's it.
Council Vice President Milton.
So I had a constituent reach out to me again about putting in some kind of a flashing light at 183rd and Mulberry, right there kind of between Willow Springs and a couple other places, because the amount of kids that are coming from your neighborhood and walking across 183rd in the morning is getting to be a lot. And so they're worried about, there's no crosswalk there, there's nothing, there's no lights, so kids going across there, and there's a lot of traffic on 183rd. So,
And it's partially,
but it's not well lit.
it's not well lit, and it's also partially blocked by
Right,
the hill.
the hill
that comes
so
through.
right there
So-
by the fire station, there's
Yep.
just, it's a bad deal waiting to happen. So it would be probably in our best interest to try to look at that, get some kind of flashing lights and a crosswalk there. So I think we ought to probably check on that. If I get consensus to have staff look into that.
No, I agree. I brought this up 45 days ago,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more, but I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, having a son who went to Trail Ridge and rode his bike across that same area. It was, it's hairy. It's hairy, I can tell you that. So I don't know what we would need to do here to, I think we have general consensus from the body to at least have Public Works take a look at that.
Sure, and typically, I mean, we'd go out and do some pedestrian counts, try to, visually go out and see what's going on, and then look at what are the options. If we see that there's a warrant for it, then look at what are some possible solutions to fix it.
Because right now, the only way to get across through an actual crosswalk is to go all the way down to Center Street.
And that's not
And
feasible.
come back up.
It's not feasible.
It's a bit out of the way, so.
Yeah. So from the warrants perspective, you just need to get some sensors out there and look at traffic counts, or what's the
We already have the traffic counts. It'd be more, somebody would have to go out and just sit and count pedestrians, or do a video of it and
Trail
count
camera.
pedestrians.
Yeah, trail cam.
Well, could we just go to the school and ask them for what population lives in those communities and reverse it from that? I mean, I would go worst case scenario. There's 100 families that live in your neighborhood that have children that attend the elementary or the middle school, or that's the way I would look at it. But I'm not a professional, I'm just an elected member.
But the issue, though, is that quite a few of those folks, because it is so dangerous to walk across there, will drive their children to the school.
No, I don't disagree.
I would just say it's worth it to put it in regardless of the cost and regardless of the count, because the kids are going to use it
Path of least resistance.
all year long. I mean, it's,
It seems like a logical area for something like that too, so.
that was all I had.
And it is a crosswalk. I mean, there's
Right.
it's a straight shot to the other side, and once the Plum Creek Manor opens, which is going to tie into that street,
They'll really walk through there.
the traffic is really going to start going. Yeah, exactly. So, but if we could get that, just do a quick preliminary and see what we need to do to get that done, it'd be great. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Todd Winters.
I've got nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Grabarczyk.
No comment.
You just have a tough name to say.
So the new business item number 2, I'd like to suggest that we may put from the mayor's pen to paper, put together maybe a 120-day roadmap in support of Laura. I think that Councilman Melton made it clear the 5 items that are his priorities. I think I added water to that. I know there's a lot of other working layers in that, but I think if we get a 120-day roadmap to Laura, I think that would be a good idea, and it would show support from the dais back to the interim city administrator.
No arguments for me.
The second item I have is a little easier. And I've talked to Larry Powell about this some time ago, but I was waiting for the development to the north of 183rd, which I don't know if that's Plum Creek, I believe.
Plum Creek Manor, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think we have land directly north of the water tower and south of the neighborhood's southern border, or northwest of Firehouse 2. I'd like to take a look at what it would take for us to put a dog park in there, considering insurance, considering the added value from a city's perspective to its citizens. And then funding for a fence could potentially become a community project funded through an Eagle Scout project. I've been donating my stipends at a quarterly basis. I could chip in. Maybe some of the other councilmen could chip in or donate a portion of the fence. But just to keep it at a low cost to the citizens and truly make it an added value, I'd like to see, Larry, if we have an opportunity to put a dog park in there now that neighborhood's built out.
Yes, sir, and we have, like you said, we've had a discussion about that, and not only just at that location, but where other locations might be useful for a similar type of a park.
we will make an appointment to talk with Jason when he gets back, and we'll sit down with Parks and Rec and review the master plan they have,
Absolutely.
because I know they had some items listed in the master plan for future park areas, but yeah, there is some land there that's available, including the land around the water tower, so in theory, we should be able to put something together fairly quickly to.
And if it doesn't cohabitate with the park master plan, I totally understand, but I've just been kind of watching that parcel as a non-elected member for years, and I was just kind of waiting for that neighborhood to, you know, catch its second wind, and it has, and I'm happy for that. But we have a big, beautiful 6-foot sidewalk there on the north side of 183rd. If we get a crosswalk in that Councilman Melton just brought up, I think there's a great trifecta. So I'd like to look at that, but if it doesn't coexist with the park master plan, I do understand. It's just an idea.
I don't think there'll be a real issue with it, but we just want to, you know, look at the current plan and see what we need to do to make it correct and so forth. And I appreciate you bringing up Plum Creek Manor. The public infrastructure for those are nearing completion and city acceptance, we hope soon. And then the builder is just standing by actually to start construction on that project. So you should start seeing some changes in the last quarter of this year in that particular area.
Great, thank you so much, Larry. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thanks, Randy. Mark Baldwin, your last but not least.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing? Wow.
I said my piece.
Holy cow. Well, this will be a quick meeting then. We're not even at 8 o'clock yet, and that's, I know we've got an executive session, and that's not gonna take very long. It's gonna be about 5
hours.
10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. So, yeah,
Yeah, because I've got,
well, we got more than 10
I
minutes?
got more than, but I got something to talk about too on that, except on this
Same
acquisition. Yep.
Same thing?
You betcha.
Okay, well then we'll go 15. That'll be
Go
enough.
20.
20?
It's good
Okay.
stuff. I like bring the good stuff.
Okay, all right. We'll go on ahead and have our second executive session then. We have a motion to enter an executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Go on, yeah.
We were discussing.
Motion Melton, second Winters, that we enter into executive session to discuss a potential acquisition of real property pursuant to KSA-73-4319, subchapter B6, for the preliminary discussion of the acquisition of real property beginning at 7:57 p.m. and returning to the dais at 8:17. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? We are now in recess.
They weren't home.
That's all right. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I'm not the one running from the police. Mayor.
Let the record show that that did not happen.
Right.
Okay. Still got 30 seconds.
We don't want to push it. I asked for this time.
We can by statute.
Right. We're by the
By the
letter.
book. By the book.
Right, Mark?
Follow the process.
Yep.
It's still an early meeting, though. You got to admit, I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I got home any earlier than this.
I entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion Gregorczyk, second Melton, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We are back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion
So
to
moved.
adjourn.
Second.
To adjourn? To adjourn.
To adjourn.
Yeah. I'm a mess. Motion Moore, second Baldwin, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned.